Hello, hello, welcome back. We're doing another one where we're going to be talking to Lauraine from Dark Energy Films. We are going to be talking a little bit about what an EP is. So she is an EP from Dark Energy Films. If you are new to Dark Energy Films, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new to Dark Energy Films, they are a production company based in London. They deal with all kinds of productions, so comedy, celebrity work, working with influencers, working with action, all of that stuff. They have a roster of directors and they have a roster of photographers. Welcome, welcome. Just talking a little bit about Dark Energy Films. But today we're going to be talking to Lauraine, who is from Dark Energy Films, who essentially is going to be talking to us a little bit about what an EP does. So if you don't know what an EP is, I actually don't know myself, so I can't explain it. So the best person who can explain it is going to be Lauraine. And also what that relationship looks like with the director. Hello, hello, hello,
Hi there,
Lorraine.
Curtis. Hi, how you doing?
Welcome.
Yeah,
Right, so I've explained to everyone that's watching right now. As a director, I have no idea what your role is. You're an EP.
yeah,
Um, what does that mean?
yeah. No, I mean executive producers. There's a few different sorts, but the role at a production company, I would say, firstly, we're sort of the first point of contact for sort of clients to come to. So if they're looking for talent or directors, they're probably going to speak to the EP and sort of give the briefs to them. So the EP also sort of will talk about budgets and what they need to do, and the EP will then sort of speak to the directors, source directors, and the first point of contact really. So quite a pivotal, very important role within a production company.
Okay, so then does that mean, okay, say for example, brands like, okay, we want a film, we want a project, whoever,
Yeah,
um, they're literally like, okay, who is the EP at so and so
yeah.
company? So they would literally contact you and go, we want a film, we want an ad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Perfect.
That's in an ideal world. We get loads of calls about briefs. But yeah, that's what will happen. So the EP will be that first port of contact, builds up the relationship with the client. It gets all the information, so we get a really solid brief to sort of find talent. Yeah, right for the brief. Yeah.
So then, talk to me a little bit about, like, I guess the process. So, say for example, okay, the companies contacted you and said, okay, we want to make this documentary, for example, because
Mhm.
documentary is one of the things that Dark Energy makes as well. Um, what would that look like in terms of the process of, okay, you get the brief, then how do you find the director, or how does the director find you, or what does that look like in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What would happen here? So just a normal day here at Dark Energy, we'll get a briefing and then we'll have a read. And then we've got sort of lots of directors on our books with different genres. So like if we're talking about documentary, we've got a lot of directors on our roster who do documentaries. So then we'll see what the idea is, what they're trying to achieve, and that we'll know directors who sort of work in those areas, if that makes sense. So then we'd put some reels together of the directors we'd like to show the client or the creative agency, and hope that maybe one of those directors will be right for the project. And that's usually how it goes. And hopefully they'll select one of the directors, and that's when the pitching process will start. So if and then we'd jump on a call with the creative teams and the producers there, and the creative team would give a brief. Um, oh, I can't hear you. Oh, there you're back now.
You're saying you get the creative brief and then you'll pitch to the wider team and then
Yeah, I'm just sorry, guys. I'm just going to move to another part of my office because I think we're lacking internet in that room. Sorry. How's that?
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Cool. So
that's the
then we
one.
were just talking about essentially, you'll get the brief, and then you'll basically find the right directors, and then pitch to the wider
Yeah.
team to essentially say these are our best directors. This is what we've got, and would you show their work? Like, what
Yeah.
does that look like?
Yeah.
How do
So
you?
we would like curate a show reel. So with the pieces of work that we think are relevant to that creative idea, we will then create a show reel, usually with about 4 to 6 pieces of work on it. Obviously, some young talent don't have that scope of work as yet, so we just put the right bits on and maybe write a little piece about the director to try and really, convince the brand or the agency that they could really do a good creative piece for that brief.
So then, in terms of the relationship between yourself and the director, like
Mm,
how long does that kind of step? Like how long is that stint? Because after the process of like pitching, and they're like, okay, cool, no to this director, but yes to this one. Do
mm.
you continue the relationship with like how sort of in close proximity are you with the director after the pitching
Very
process?
very, very close proximity, especially at the pitching stage, because you'll work together when the director goes off to do the treatment, which is the next stage of we work very closely. The EP will either put the initial budgets together, working with the directors. So when they're coming up with their ideas, we'll be putting a budget together, or working closely with another producer who's putting all the numbers together while we make sure that the creative idea is affordable and is doable. So it's a very close relationship.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Come through. Just that's part of the part of my role that I really like is at that creative process and working with a director to make an idea come to life. Um, so yeah, so it's a fortunate position because I get to know a lot of directors. It's really good.
So then, in terms of, I guess, like when you're talking about like the forming of the concept and like keeping it within budget, is there a relationship where they're sending the treatment to you sort of back, and is it like a
Yeah.
back and forth thing, like where you're like, okay, cool, I have this idea, here's the treatment, what do you think?
Yeah, the stages will go. Usually, we'll let the director go off and write the words. Give them some time to do that. And usually, there's a sense check when all the words are in place and what he's thinking. And so, I try an EP. Usually, you try not to be too on top of it, so the creative process can happen. But there's check-in points. So yeah, when the words are written, I'll usually try and have another chat with them, and then there'll be visual research happening as well. So then when the layout happens and all the visuals are going into the treatment, I'll have another check-in to make sure they're all right and in line with the brief. And yeah, so there's a few check-in points, and just basically being available to the director to have a chat to, because not all directors, especially when you're sort of just starting out, you don't know
Mm,
everything and all the
and you
things.
need
So
that kind
it
of support to
becomes,
be like, am I on the
yeah,
right track?
yeah, exactly. So it's quite a mentoring sort of, I like to say a bit of a mothering role, which is why I like it so much. Yes.
I want to talk to you. That's amazing, because I think a lot of directors like need that
Yeah.
like sort of assurance in the process, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk to you a little bit about kind of a bit about kind of how, when going in, like what is that like for the director in terms of okay, say for example, we've got the treatment ready, we've pitched the treatment, what does the relationship then look like after the pitching stage, and like now we're moving into the production stage?
Okay. So yeah, at that stage, what would happen? You're getting your core production team in place. So you would have a line producer come on board, but the EP is always around, sort of on calls with the client, building that relationship, also has the relationship with the director and the key production crew. So you sort of act as a sort of, I guess, a senior person within that group that can be, the first port of call for the client if there's anything that, is going well or not, or want to talk about. But as the production process sort of gets more and more closer to the actual shoot and stuff, the EP does sort of step back a bit, and will sort of then be on hand at the shoots and at the edits and any client presentations, really.
Okay, so it's
So
almost like a weave in and weave out of like, so
yes,
almost like heavy, very heavily there with the director at the
yeah,
start, but then as the process sort of continues, it's almost like we'll be putting out the
yeah,
fires, like the EPs will be putting out the fires without us knowing,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
essentially, but then you come back in to make sure we're steering in the right
Yeah,
direction, and it's kind of
yeah, and just building that relationship with the whole team and the clients as well to assure them that yeah, it's a really yeah, it's exactly how you said it, Curtis.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of like how directors should, well actually this is more, should directors be contacting EPs if they're trying to sort of be on the roster, because essentially
Absolutely.
you're kind of the gate essentially.
Yeah, and also the other arm of being an EP is sort of finding talent, building up our talent roster and building those relationships. So often during the week, I have about there's a couple of meetings a week with new directors that we have here at Dark Energy. We're always looking for talent, always having chats, and even just giving advice, saying, if this is the right fit here or if there's other places they can, try out as well. So it's a key, knowing who's out there, who's working, all the young talent coming through. The EP is a very good person to contact. Definitely.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because I feel like anyone who's watching right now, I want to
Yeah.
basically know, like, if any, for anyone watching right now, what should they include or how should they get at an EP to be like, if they're trying to find work and they're like, I'm a young budding director, because also Dark Energy Films has a emerging talent
That's
section as
right.
well. So
Yeah.
um, if you're a young budding director and you're like, I want to work on commercials, I want to work on documentary, where, how, all those things. How should I contact you? What should I say? And what should I include?
Yeah, just drop an email or give us a call. Best to do an email first, and maybe if you've got a short film that you've done or any projects, put that on there and just ask, have you got any time for a coffee? Because I love meeting people, and so does Matt, who is the MD here. We all do. Yeah, and we'll give advice. That is the best thing to do, honestly, because if we can help you and if you're right for us or other production companies, we'll let you know. But it's such a big, expansive, world out there. If we can advise and mentor, we'll do that. Absolutely. It's important. And you just never know. That style that you have as a director could be a brief comes in and it's just,
Mm.
we start remembering who's done what and it could just work. You never know. So it's important to just get your name out there and have a chat to VPs, definitely.
So then, with sort of emailing EPs, is it like a consistent thing? Like, because I know that some companies prefer like you to or some EPs, or I guess some more so companies and producers like prefer you to kind of consistently message them,
Yeah,
updating them with like the kind of work that you've done.
absolutely. Yeah, I think, email, try and get a coffee in, try and pop in. If you can't do that because people are busy, but but always update, send new work if you've worked on a project, keep it not too lengthy, the emails, just the work and what you're up to, and yeah, definitely. Because it is true. Sometimes I get approached by directors. I may be really busy, have a few productions on, and then we've had a little chat and then we don't speak for a few months and then I'll get another nudge or an email and then there's time to have that meet up or a chat on the phone.
Mm.
So it's important to do that. I mean, for any part of this industry, it's you just have to keep nudging people.
So
Yeah.
essentially, anyone listening, you're not being annoying by
No,
sending
it's
reminder
how it works
emails.
this industry. You have to, yeah, because also we're
Yeah.
so busy, and sometimes you may be the last person on that person, that EP or producer's mind. So it's important and get out there and socialize and go to all the networking events. It's really important,
For
especially
anyone,
as summer's coming up.
yes,
So, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
For
yeah.
anyone just joining, I'm here with Lorraine from Dark Energy Films, and we're just talking a little bit about what an EP does, and also the relationship with a director. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to jot them down, and we'll get through them. Also, I wanted to ask you, Lorraine, what are some? This might be a spicy one. You can avoid the question, but what are some pet peeves that you have with directors? and things that they can improve on. So it's like a oh, but you know it leans slightly positive.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, everyone's unique, right? Everyone may has got their own way of doing things, but I think just communicating, getting back when you're, on time, trying to ask questions. Don't try and work it all out on your own, and also try not to. Especially as you're coming through, really listen to the people around you who've been doing it for a while, and just ask for advice. Just don't think that you should know it all. This industry, you're always learning. Even at my age, we're always learning. So just always ask questions. You're not meant to know everything. Communicate. Get back to emails. Get back to calls. That's it. But each director is unique. You can't. There's not one thing that fits all. But I just think the key things of communicating and asking for help and being transparent are key.
I think that's super useful because like I think on our side, the director side, it's like you feel like you have to have like you have to come as a full package, which
No.
is very refreshing to hear, like, you know, coming from you that, oh, okay, no, come as you are, ask the
Yeah.
questions, essentially be a student.
Yeah. You don't know it all, right? You're
Yeah.
wanting to do this. This is the path you want to take, and each film or shoot that you do is different. They're never going to be the same. So, and you're going to work with different people all the time, and you're always learning. I mean, that's what's so good about this game, I think. So, yeah, just be vocal and just don't feel like you should know it all.
We've also got another question
Yeah,
from Caroline. Also, if you fancy becoming an EP, is there a usual route? So anyone that's like interested in basically being you, like how do you become an executive producer?
yeah. How did I move into this role? So, yeah, I mean, I started through production. So I was a PA, a runner. Then I was a PA at a production company. And then I decided to go agency side because I wanted to see what that role entailed, being the agency producer. So I've sort of gone around a bit and worked in post houses. But that's it. You sort of go through, be a PA, learn from, work with good producers. And I think you get to, when you've been producing for a while, you you either like being hands-on and in the nitty-gritty of each production, but sometimes I took the role as EP. I started moving in that direction because I had a child and I didn't want to be traveling all the time, and I really like managing people. It's actually a thing that I like doing. So the EP role sort of does that. So I ended up sort of moving into that area, and started, I went for a job that was not as hands-on as producing. It was the EP role, and that's how it started, really. But I think you need the experience of production, to be a good EP. I mean, not for everyone, but I do, because you are the sort of first port of contact. You're the one that builds relationships with the directors and the clients, so it's important have an element of knowing what's going on in all areas of the production process.
And I think it's good that if anyone's interested, it's almost like, and if they go through that sort of similar process, they understand every sort of like nuanced
Yeah,
detail of each role so that they can kind of carefully manage everyone because you've been in so
yeah,
many areas.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that is the EP. I mean, there's also EP roles that is new business. People have come through that way doing new business and the talent finding, which is, you learn just as much. So there are two different routes. I think you either come through the producer production route and then start EPing, or you've been head of business or sales and you're sort of still doing the same role, but you're sort of initiating the start of a production and the pitch. But then you sort of hand over more to your sort of line producers and things like that.
Okay. So I just want to do a little kind of like not roundup, but essentially like just a recap
Yeah,
for anyone watching. We've been talking a little bit about the EP role, which Lauraine from Dark Energy Films has joined us, and essentially has talked about kind of the role of a role of an EP, executive producer, and just to kind of recant, because I want to make sure that I know this as well as, and I've come away with it. Essentially, your role is the sort of first point of contact for it, you know, anyone who wants a film, content or anything like that, and then essentially you're putting together the roster of directors that you're going to put forward to pitch, and then essentially once they've sort of picked and you've sort of created the show reels and been like, okay, cool, they like this one, great, let's have that person on. And then you're then sort of forming the treatment together, and then essentially after that process, when they sort of move into production, you're not so much hands off, but you're sort of managing things from the outside. And then essentially you come back in around the producing, the sort of the post point. But then I wanted to ask, at the end, are you then delivering the actual final product, or
Yeah,
who's that down
I
to?
guess it depends what stage. Some productions you will deliver the final offline edit. Sometimes you're taking it right to delivery, but no, the line producer will pretty much, or the post producer will be doing the delivery. I think you're, again, just sort of there on all the emails, speaking to the clients, making sure everything's okay at the end of the job, and then you usually organise taking all your clients out to say thank you. That's what the EP does at the end as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, I think after that we just spoke a little bit about what directors should be doing, which is contacting EPs all the time because and reminding them, because you need to be doing that if you want to find work, and making yourself known. Um, and I guess pieces of advice. What are some pieces of advice? So we talked a little bit about kind of just obviously making sure communication is good. But are there
Yeah.
any other pieces of advice that you can give any emerging directors or any emerging EPs that might be watching and being like, I want to be an executive producer. How do I, what's the, I guess what's the first thing they should be doing?
Yeah, I guess building up your contact list, networking, keeping up to speed with what's going on in the industry, what's going on commercial wise, the music video arena as well, and just yeah, making contact. Don't be shy. This is a people industry. It really is, and I do feel, because of what's been going on over the last few years, a lot of the sort of emerging and younger talent, have missed out on the sort of normal process of sort of just being out and about and meeting people. Creative industries work by meeting people and bouncing ideas off each other. So I really feel that, yeah, go to all the events, do be out and about in Soho or Shoreditch, wherever. Go and visit creatives at creative agencies, see if they're doing any events, and just, yeah, I think just communicate, get your name out there, enjoy it.
Amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Lorraine. Just by the way, if anyone has any questions, feel free to jot them down now, but we are going to be wrapping up. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Lorraine, because I think a lot of people watching, including myself, didn't know what an executive producer
Oh,
did.
right. Okay. Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
thank you so
That
much for
helps.
Thank you so much
educating.
for educating.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
And if anyone's
anyone
got any
listening,
questions, feel free to email me or whatever.
oh, amazing.
I'll try and get back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so what I'm going to do is going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Lorraine. And anyone interested
Yeah.
in listening to this, if you just joined, this is going to be available on the Shiny website and also the Instagram. So have a look and you'll be able to see other videos just like this one. Thank you so much, Lorraine, and take care.
Thanks, Curtis. Bye, everyone. Bye.